How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them, given these scandals, U-turn and broken promises?
All right, well, also I'm going to come to all of you on the panel. Make sure you get a fair shout. Andy, let's start with you.
It's by changing the way we do politics. I can't give you any other answer, and I mean fundamental change. I was in Westminster, as you may remember. I did represent part of this constituency. It was in the old Lee constituency, Hindley Green, Bickershaw, Hindley was in. And I found that I went down there and I was speaking into Parliament, and in the end, it took me a long time to realise that the system just simply was not set up to support places like ours. And it treated us as the bottom of the list rather than the top of the list. And it's the point scoring, isn't it? You know, the kind of whole setup of Westminster. People go to point scoring before they go to problem solving. It's party first rather than place first and people collaborating. And it took me a long time to realise it, but I did realise it. And that's why I left in 2010. 2017, I just felt I couldn't do my best for the Northwest and for this part of the world that I care about so much in that system. As Mayor of Greater Manchester, I pioneered a new politics. Place first, not party first. Long term, not short term. Problem solving, not point scoring. Pro-business, working with the community and voluntary sector, getting everybody together, unifying people behind a drive to make Greater Manchester what we all want it to be. And look at us, the fastest growing city region in the country. We've developed a new public transport system. You know, it's amazing what you can achieve if you start to work like that. And actually, I felt my connection with people has improved. And what I would say is that approach, a more collaborative politics, a more, if you like, long-term approach to solving the country's problems needs to be taken from here, Greater Manchester, and taken down there. Okay. Fundamental change in Westminster to restore the public's trust.
Now, when it comes to restoring the public's trust, we might as well address this head on because we had a lot of questions about it. In fact, the most questions about you personally were about this, which is that we are having this by-election. This is not a usual by-election. Someone has stood down specifically so that you can stand and, should you win, have a go at getting inside the door of number 10. Let's make no bones about it. Now, a number of you, a lot of you asked, but let's hear from some of you who asked about exactly that. Yes, you asked about that, did you? The man in the blue top there at the back.
Me?
Yes.
If he's going to get into number 10, what would he do? So, I'll rephrase the question. You just said then, if, as an MP for Lee, you couldn't make much change because of the party politics. So what are you actually going to do for the people of Makerfield himself you have to be hidden under a rock to think maybe you aren't going to go for the leadership against Keir. What changes are you going to make that Labour Party great again?
I mean, I'm making no assumptions about this election. I'm not, because you all know it's tight. You know that. Because you speak to people in your communities. No,
this is why you're running, Andy. Let's be clear about that.
Answer the question. I mean, it's an important question. It's not a given, and I don't see it as such. I'm fighting hard because, to me, it is about trying to rebuild politics and make it work for people here. When I was in the cabinet, I had influence, and I used it for people here. I got the Lee Sports Village built. We got Bickershaw Marina. I got a young girl who'd been abducted and taken to Libya. I got her back with her mum in Hindley Green. I have always used my political influence for people here. Hillsborough was another example. I've never abandoned this place at all. On Sunday, it's the 25th anniversary of me being an elected Greater Manchester representative, but I know I can't do everything within the system as it currently is. All right. So all I can say to you is, I would take the fight to change politics and change this country as high as I could so that it works for here. All right. And it doesn't work for here right now. Look at the flooding problem.
Okay, Andy, let me bring in the rest of the panel.
This place was top of the list, not where Westminster put it, which is bottom of the list.
I will come to you, Michael, but let me bring in the rest of the panel. So, Rob, let's address this question to you. How can politicians restore the public's trust?
I'll just go back to Billy's question about restoring trust. I think a big move away from career politicians would certainly help, and having normal people involved in politics. Andy touches on us being the fastest growing economy. Does anybody in Makerfield feel that we've got the fastest growing economy? Or is it all just kept in Manchester? We keep giving our council tax, there's a bigger percentage every year being taken by Manchester. While Manchester thrives, we're struggling to survive in Wigan. We've been left behind, so my point would be, get normal people in politics, people who care about the place, people who live in the place and people who want to stay here and not use it as a stepping stone for other things.
So look, in the interest of fairness, I put to Andy the thing that so many of you said, which is basically, you're doing this election in order to try and get into number 10. The question asked most by the audience about you personally, Rob, was about comments you've made, in particular about women. Now, a number of you put that point. Are any of you, can I see from those of you who have said, yes, the woman with the, did you ask about that? Yes, let's hear what you've got to say.
I'd rather have a career politician than a plumber who's a sexist.
So, Rob, I want to give you a chance to answer that. You know, I want to give you a fair shout. So just for those of you may not all be aware of things that Rob has said in the past, you described yourself as sexist.
Allegedly.
What, you're denying that was a tweet by you?
No, some of the things, not...
OK, you described yourself as a sexist. You have made offensive comments about women. You've admitted that. You've also said that abortion is the cowardly act of women murdering defenceless baby and that women do it so they can shag anyone they want. That's your phrase, not mine. As I say, I'm raising it because lots of people in the audience raise it and I want to give you a chance to answer.
That's OK, I'll address those questions. So I won't accept that label. I mean, a lot of the things have been said 15 years ago. I hold my hands up, I've made mistakes. And said
the one about abortion was just 2 to 3 years ago.
I'm just addressing the first point where she said, where I was given a label that I won't accept. I was brought up by a single parent and my grandma, who was a widow, and an older sister. So I was brought up by women. I've got nothing but respect for women. You know, so I think something that's said, 15 years ago, dragged up from an old rugby forum, it's completely taken out of context. And like I say, I've made mistakes. I said things years ago that I wouldn't say now, and I definitely don't believe that on that point. So I hope that addresses that issue. And it's like I say, I've got nothing but respect for women.
Can I just come on this point, though? Because I actually spoke to Carol Vorderman this morning. She called me because she is really distressed that you have failed to apologise for any of these comments. So you said
about her specifically?
Her specifically. And she is watching at home tonight. And I wonder if you can look down that camera and say to Carol, you know what, I'm sorry. Can you do that?
You know what? People have probably seen what's been said, but I never actually said anything to Carol. I commented on a comment. Okay. Don't get me wrong, it was a disgusting comment that somebody else had written, but I commented on the comment.
With approval?
Okay.
Pardon?
With approval?
No, it was a crass joke, and it's not something I'd say now.
Can I just say,
every
woman in this room and at home has been subject to shaming, whether in person or online.
And that's disgusting. It's horrible, yeah.
I think you're just proving my point. Can you believe this? Honestly, we have all been subjected to it. And the fact that a man like you cannot sit and do a simple apology, I think is disgraceful. But on top of that, reforms, policies on women are shocking. Right. Reform on day one wants to repeal the Equality Act. That is your party policy. I can't believe, as a mum of a young daughter, I'm having to sit here in 2026 and make the case for me and my daughter to have the right for equal pay. This is what the Reform Party stand for. No. They are a party that has a problem with women and they need to sort it out.
Rob, this is not all about you, this programme. I'll let you answer, of course, and then I must come around the rest of the panel.
No problem. So we will replace the Equalities Act with the Workplace Fairness Act, and all those women's protections will carry over into the new Act.
Right.
No hard-fought women's protections will suffer or be scrapped. They'll all go over, especially with maternity and pregnancy.
Given that you can't apologise, I'm not sure I trust that.
I'm going to bring in the rest of the panel because I must give you all a fair shout to answer this question. Michael, how can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them?
I think the way that they can do that is by judging them on their actions. So when they say things, when they make promises, they actually deliver them. And that's how we hold them to account. But that's a great bit about democracy, because actually you have got the right, every single one of you, to vote people out when they don't do what they have said to do. Now, just to come on to Andy's point about how we restore faith in politics, it's not that long ago, Andy, that you were telling everybody that this was the greatest job in the world and that you was going to see out your full term. But we're here, halfway through. It's less than 2 years since Josh was elected as my Member of Parliament here in Makerfield. And I'm actually quite disgusted, really, and sad that we're having this by-election foisted upon us. And you said about putting party first. You are putting your party first. Because, could I just end that one? Sure. Because actually, we will get rid of Keir Starmer, whichever politician is elected in this by-election. And actually, if you vote for me, it'll speed it up straight away.
Yes, but... OK, quickly, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in politics a long time. You and I know each other because we've worked together over a long period of time. You cannot control events in politics. I can't control what happened in Parliament. And let's not forget, in this borough, in this borough, 25 council seats went away from the party, and you just can't ignore those things. The public here are saying quite loudly to all of us, we need something very different here than what's being served up. And you can't just say, oh well, I don't hear that, I don't see it, and I'm just going to sort of sit where I am. I mean, that's just the reality of politics, Michael, and you have to sort of react to those things as they happen.
It is, but what we're getting served up is more Labour Party. We need a radical change.
Well, Michael, let's talk about the Conservatives for a minute, because the question is about restoring trust, and it's quite clear the Conservatives have lost trust after a series of Prime Ministers. How on earth do you begin to restore trust in the audience here after the previous administration?
Yeah, there's no two ways about it that we had a massive defeat in 2024. And part of that process now of going back, and this is what Kemi as leader has started to do. It's only about restoring trust. You've got to accept and own that we made mistakes, and that's what she has done. But now what we're doing is looking forward to make sure that we can oppose what this Labour government is doing to address the things like cost of living, but also setting out a plan about how we're going to deal with things like migration, cost of living, getting things moving again. And that's what I want to talk about at this by-election. I want to talk about the high streets, crime, antisocial behaviour and getting rid of congestion across Makerfield, because it's about electing your Member of Parliament. And as someone that lives here, I care about it and I want to deliver on that plan.
All right. I'm going to come to you both as well to answer this question, but I'm just going to hear a little bit from the audience first. Woman at the back with the glasses, right at the very back. Yes.
Hi. So I watch the programme all the time, every week. And
oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you very much.
And I just find that politicians can never answer a question straight. You ask them a question, you never get an answer. And it is so disappointing when Fiona asks you, will you stand, to challenge Keir Starmer, that you cannot say yes, that you will. We all know that you will, so why can't you just say it?
I'll come back to you, Andy, on that. I will come back to you on that. Man here in pink.
I think yourself, you raised a really valid point about, as a community, we want a normal person, a real person stepping in and taking charge to make sure the people of our constituency can get ahead in life the best they can. And I would rather have a community made up of diversity, of women, of LGBT people, of young people, of people with disabilities, than someone like yourself who is sexist and has shown on more than one occasion an opposition to diversity, just as your party does.
Woman here in the jacket.
My question is, why, as reform, it's close between both of you in the polls, and I want you to win. So
what, you want Andy Burnham to win?
I do.
Right.
I want the sooner the better that Keir Starmer walks out of Downing Street, the better for me and everybody else. We want him to go. Everybody wants him to go. We can't stand him, actually. But he's not for the people
just say
anyway.
what you really think.
Yeah, well, yeah, because he's not for the people. He doesn't listen. That's his downfall. But my question is, Reform, having their manifesto, they're going to raise the tax threshold. Why is that not in your manifesto? Because if you put that in your manifesto, you'll walk this by-election easy.
You're right, okay.
You need to put that in your... If not for everybody,
you heard it here.
for pensioners.
Man at the front in the glass.
This by-election has just been called because, basically, Keir Starmer is collateral damage because of the Epstein files. Because Mandelson was in the Epstein files, Keir Starmer knew what he'd done, he'd lied to Parliament, he lied to all the MPs, and that's why everybody in the country knew he'd lied. Right? He was on TV, it was all over when he was in Commons.
Right, okay. All right, I mean, he obviously, Keir Starmer, clearly is not here to answer for himself. He may take it differently. Just so you're aware, I mean, Robbie, you could say this about stage, but in terms of raising the tax threshold, I think it was to £20,000, that was a reform policy. It's not currently a reform policy. It's an aim, isn't it, but not a current policy.
Yeah, it was in 2024, but I mentioned you said pensioners are getting poorer. You know, just think about what happened with the,
all right, let me bring,
with the winter fuel allowance.
Let me bring the rest of the panel in, because you need to answer these points. So, Jake, let's come to you. Let's answer the question, Billy's question. How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them, given scandals, U-turns, broken promises, etc.?
I think it comes back to so much of what has already been asked in this room tonight. So, to answer your question directly about why isn't there a manifesto in this, it's because this isn't a general election. This is an election for a potential future Prime Minister via the back door, and that's not the right way to be doing politics.
I'll come back. I will rush at the end.
So,
let's let him answer.
So Andy's not releasing a manifesto for this because he's not saying the quiet part out loud. And coming back to what somebody earlier said about...
He's not running for the general election.
All right, let's you're going to be on the panel in a minute. I know, you're gagging to me. Let's let the panel answer. Jake, go on.
So coming back to what somebody mentioned earlier about honesty being an integral part of politics. Now, Andy has consistently... We've fought against each other in the 2024 Greater Manchester Mayoral. He's consistently talked a good game about politicians working together to restore trust in politics. But fundamental to that is being honest with residents and constituents. Yet he refuses to say the quiet part out loud, that the reason he asked his mate to step down so he could run in this by-election is not so he could become MP for Makerfield, it's so that he could become the Prime Minister instead.
And listen, I am going to let you answer, and also because it was a question from the one at the back. Listen, let's just talk about the Lib Dems for a minute, because it is well known that the Lib Dems wish to rejoin the EU. That is clearly your policy as well as a Liberal Democrat. You are here in Makerfield campaigning for people's trust, but I think it was 67%, something like that, of people in Makerfield voted to 65 voted to leave. So how can you represent these people?
Look, when I'm knocking on doors in Makerfield and I'm talking to voters, they are not bringing up Brexit or rejoining the EU or revisiting a vote that we held 10 years ago. That's not what I'm about, and the Liberal Democrat plan isn't about rejoining the European Union. Yes, we want...
It's a clearly stated aim.
No, our aims as Liberal Democrats are to have a closer tie to the European Union in the forms of a customs union, because that brings an extra £25 billion back into the economy on a yearly basis, generated through revenue, by having those closer ties with the European Union. That £25 billion could do a hell of a lot of good stuff in our constituency. It could revitalise our high streets. It could help us cut the cost of living. It could help with building flooding infrastructure, which is desperately needed in places like Hindley and across the Makerfield constituency. The reason that we want as Liberal Democrats closer ties with the European Union, not to rejoin, but a customs union, is because we know the economic benefits that would bring back to Makerfield and places like this that, frankly, so far have been left behind by Westminster.
OK, Sarah, your turn. How can politicians restore the public's trust and confidence in them?
So I only really recently got involved in politics in this way. I'm actually on maternity leave at the moment. And
well, we're very glad to have you here.
Thank you. And it was actually the last by-election that was called in Greater Manchester that got me involved. And I realised that that there is no one else coming to save us. If you have an opinion about what we should do as a country, you have to get involved. And I think we've just seen on the panel here exactly the problem that people have with trust and confidence, because we're all knocking points off each other, trying to say that we're more honest than that person, when actually the fundamental problem we have in this country is that we're building on 40 years of deindustrialisation, topped off by 15 years of austerity, which, to be perfectly honest, the Labour government haven't done enough to address. And we're all feeling it. And we're all feeling the squeeze. We're all feeling the pinch. But you know what we should be really looking at is the massive inequality in this country. 50 of the wealthiest families in this country hold more wealth than 50%. That's 34 million people. That cannot be right. And so as the Green Party, one of the things we want to say, it's not just about changing culture in Westminster, because I'm afraid if we just change Westminster culture, we're not going to change the country. We need to start having serious conversations about who is contributing for a better future for our children, to solve the climate crisis, to get our high streets going, to make sure that we can have the money back in towns and villages so that our young people stay here and work hard and have better lives. So that's what we're all about, is going, let's not just think about Westminster culture that politicians are obsessed with, but think properly about the solutions that we need in this country.
So the question being from Billy about restoring trust and public confidence. Let's just talk about the Green Party record for a minute. So there was a candidate who was going to be, it's part of the reason why you've had to jump in on your maternity leave. There was another candidate who withdrew after 12 hours. And initially we were told it was for family and personal reasons. Lo and behold, journalists found out the next day that entirely unacceptable comments had been made about the attack on Golders Green on ambulances, where the candidate described it as a false flag attack, i.e. done by either Israel or Jewish people to try and make it look like it was done by somebody else. And there have been numerous anti-Semitic comments made by Green candidates. How does that restore trust and confidence?
We have to be really clear that anti-Semitism has absolutely no part and no place in the Green Party or in our country. And Zach has been extremely clear about that as well. And we have to make sure that those few handful of people are dealt with, that our vetting process is improved, and that we ensure that people can trust the people that we are putting in front of them.
So I just want to come back to, Rob, I know you want to come in, but I'm aware I'm going to try and get other questions in as well. But lots of people have talked about, Andy, you talked about it at the back, and I want to make sure your question gets answered, which is, why don't you just say it straight out? I am campaigning for the election. OK, you want to be MP for Makerfield, but you want to get into number 10. This is your moment. Just quickly, because I want to move on.
Well,
come on, this is the time.
I'm not somebody who gets ahead of myself. I can't do anything unless I'm lucky enough to get the support of people here. But if I get your support, I would seek to represent you at the highest possible level and give this constituency maximum power and influence. I think Wes Streeting seems to have launched a leadership contest. So if that is running, I would seek to join it. But I'd have to persuade members of the Parliamentary Labour Party to do the same. So that's the honest answer. And on the personal allowance, I've heard it on so many doorsteps, and I've said to my team, let's have a proper look at this and let's develop a policy.
All right, I'm going to move on. But before I do, I just want to say that, of course, there are other candidates. You've heard from 5 candidates on this panel. There are 14 candidates in total, and there is a full list of them on the screen for everyone to see.